Welcome to part two. In part one of Accessibility Workshop, we focused very much on creating accessible spaces and even just talking about what is accessibility and what would be included in that, what we should consider. But this part is a little bit more focused on preparing your child for success in those new environments, and then also in finding accessible spaces for your family, for your child, or for your student? What are the things that we look for? So we will start in this module, module 4, about preparing your child or the person you're supporting for success in a new environment. Alicia.
Yes, so we're going to talk about 13 things that you can do to help prepare for success in a new environment. So the first thing is to talk about it. You'll have to decide for yourself and your child or your client or student how far in advance that you want to begin talking about it. Would it be more helpful or less stressful to talk about it early or closer to the event date? Did you put it on your calendar if you have a really big calendar like me? I like to write my events right on there so everybody can see when things are happening. Consider whether too far in advance might lead them to become more anxious about the approaching commitment or event. My older child would not do well with too far in advance. He would ask over and over again to clarify. So we wait a little bit closer to the event, if not the day of or the day before. Um, but maybe not enough notice for you might mean the person can't change their plan or alter their plan or make plans. So number 2 is to create a narrative type of story detailing what is expected in a matter-of-fact way. The story should describe the sequence of events and how you'll get from one place to another, the rules of the space, and any other important information that you think you'll need. I have a story that I've created for my son. I'm just going to share it. So this is a basic story that I made about going to Value Village, something he really loves to do. And then afterward, we were going to go out for ice cream. So I use real pictures of the real space or a real space because he likes those best. So today we're going out together. First, we'll go to Value Village and buy some toys. He likes to pile them all in the cart. So I did give him a limit to the amount of toys he can pick. So when he picks 5, we can pick our best 3. But he already knows that before we go. So that rule is outlined. And then we will wait for the cashier to scan every toy. And then we go to Dairy Queen. So second, we will go to Dairy Queen. They have ice cream, that's what he gets. And this is what we'll be doing. So these are the sequence of steps. We will go up to the counter to order. Then we will wait for them to make our order. Finally, we eat. So that's an example of something really simple that you can do to create a narrative around what's going to happen, just so that it's really clear. When you're creating these narratives, you want to use their strengths. So if they're a visual learner, you can draw or print a picture. My son is super visual. That's why I made a narrative that looks like that. He can read, so I just made sure that I put a little bit of words in there. Mostly it's visual. If they're better with words, then you can write a story for them to read, or maybe you can read one together. You can also watch or create a video if there's one available, or if you've created one on your own. Using their interests as a way of holding their attention and it helps get their interest in the story. So for my oldest, I would maybe create a story all about the Toy Story characters going on a trip to the zoo or going on the train. That might help him get his attention on the story, and then he learns the rules of the train, for example. But you can use whatever interests the person you're thinking of has and use those. Um, and you can use these stories to go over the process. You can cover any rules and boundaries and an exit strategy as well.
What do
If
you
you want
mean
to
by
get
an exit strategy, Alicia?
exit strategy. So any which way you can leave. So like even outlining how to ask to leave or what the process could be to leave, um, those types of plans can help you reduce your anxiety so you know what to look for when you want to leave, and it helps them know that they can leave. So it may end up being they know the exit strategy, it's reduced their anxiety so they haven't needed to leave, or it's very clear that they want to leave by the exit strategy that you've laid out.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah. Um, the key is to get creative and use a variety of methods. So you don't want to just stick to one method. You can do a whole bunch of different things. So maybe a video, storybooks, little narratives like that, just talking about it, all sorts of different ways. Yeah, and when I create these stories for my children, I try to cover everything. So I ask myself, who, what, where, when, how, why at all of these steps and make sure that I'm creating a well-rounded picture of the expectations, just so there's no guesses.
That's awesome. I really liked your story. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you. Number 3 is to go over any questions or scenarios that you might encounter and come up with answers in advance together. You can role play.
Okay, so role play is a pretty cool one, right? Because the kids get a chance to play, but you get to play along with them. And actually, play is a really important piece. Play and laughter helps increase all of our well-being. So the more you can role play with your kids and play in this way, it supports everybody's well-being. The Gifts of Imperfection. I don't know if anybody's heard of Brené Brown, but she wrote a beautiful book called The Gifts of Imperfection. And in there, she really highlights about that importance in our well-being of play. So I just want to highlight role play. It's fun and it does help kids. I remember role playing going to the shoe store to get new shoes and how we choose shoes and how your feet get measured and actually playing that out several times before taking my kids to the shoe store, and it really helped. So
Yeah, that's a good one. And it's funny because when we were chatting about this, these are new things that I came about too. I've got to read more of these books and do more of this role play, because I think it would help me and my kids. So it's not just, it's all about us too.
It really is. And
Yeah.
so even within that role play, right? You could use books on the topic of what you're doing to read those books with the kids so that they can see kind of a framework around what you're talking about and then play out what happened in the book, but then add in other possible outcomes or other possible things that might happen. So I have some examples of the books. So here's one called Biscuit Goes to School. That would give a little bit of process around what might happen at school. And it's kind of fun because it's a dog going to school. So that might get somebody who's interested in dogs interested. Little Critter series has some really good ones. This one in particular is Little Critter Sleeps Over. And then I also have some Berenstain Bears. I love Berenstain Bears for process books, and all sorts of other things, experiences. So this one is Week at Grandma's and what happens with the Berenstain Bear cubs at Grandma's house. And then this one is a really great one too, Visit the Dentist. So those are just a few of mine. I think, Alicia, you have a few too.
Yes, and I love these books because it takes it out of the personal realm for the child. It puts this story on some other kid or some other character, and helps kind of get you talking about it without them feeling like it's about them.
Yeah.
I really love Pete the Cat. So this
Mm.
one's about going camping. And then I've got the little school bus. So it's talking about going to school, but it's mostly about the bus. So, how to ride the bus, what the rules of the bus are. And then I have a couple that are about Halloween. So you got a rock, Charlie Brown, talking about the process of going out for Halloween, and then another Pete the Cat, Trick or Pete. They're really fun ways of going through those processes.
Yeah, that's good. And you made a really good point because it takes it out of the realm of it. This is about you going out doing something new into this is about somebody else doing something new. Hey, we could pretend to do that too. And then you get into practicing and playing and have a little bit of fun about it. So it creates a familiarity around the topic. And then when you broach that going out and actually trying it yourself, you have something to base it on and a memory to go back to. Remember when we were reading about Berenstain Bears, or remember when we were playing going to the dentist? It's kind of the same. So it is a very helpful strategy to get kids out into trying different things.
Definitely. Yeah. Okay, so number 4 is to plan ahead as much as possible for any challenges that you might encounter and have that planned exit strategy. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Number 5 is don't change the plans unless you absolutely have to, unless you consult or are guided by the person you're supporting. Sudden changes in plan can be very anxiety provoking and they require processing time to reroute the plan. But you also should be prepared to shift plans as needed, depending on the individual's needs. So if you need to leave early or exit an activity before it's complete, you just have to be prepared to do that. I can share a personal story.
Awesome.
I was out doing some training where I was staying overnight somewhere and we were planning a large event, or the organizers were planning the large event. But I didn't get to really know what the event or where it was until last minute. It was like moments before we were leaving. um, which was really, really, really difficult for me. Because I require like I require a lot of time for planning. I'm a big planner. And so it took a while, took the entire drive to the place, which is about an hour, for me to, feel okay. I was very dysregulated and I can mask really well. So I can, yeah, I can pretend from the outside that things are okay, but my kids really can't. So it's just something to keep in mind that it took me a while to reroute my plan, get ready for any potential things coming up, be ready to maybe hear some more noises or do more walking or be outside, go in a restaurant, knowing what I'm going to eat. There's all these things where I have to think about before I get to these places. And we've got to kind of help our kids do that by not springing things on them at the last minute. Not all people like surprises, and that's okay. People need different amounts of time to process and plan.
That's a great point, Alicia. Sometimes we just go by what we feel we need. We forget about the other person. So we need all perspectives and
Yeah,
ours.
yeah. There
And
was a time too with my oldest when he was really small, we wanted to take him for ice cream all of a sudden to a train caboose ice cream shop. And it went terribly. Because it was like last minute. It was not part of the routine. We thought it was going to be the most fun. And he was not happy. So it's now in hindsight, it's because we just sprung it on him. He wasn't ready for that. He had no input. We didn't prep him. Ice cream or not, it's it doesn't matter how much you want to go. So
yeah, good point. Good point.
So number 6 is go when it's not a busy time. You can also check if there are sensory friendly hours or sensory friendly events, which more and more are coming up for businesses and places. And we can continue to advocate for that too, to share that there is a need. Number 7 is if there is an itinerary or a schedule or a map of some sort, if you can get a hold of that, go over it, make a plan. You can print it off, put it up on the wall. You can draw on them. You can make your own little map or anything. If you can get it engaged, if you can engage with it in some way, that's even better. Number 8, is there a virtual tour available online? Can you look up the location on Google Maps? Getting more views of where you're going is best. This is where the VR system could come in. You can either have your pre-recorded pre-visits on the VR system, or you can go in and look and maybe somebody's already recorded it. And the VR system can work as a great tool to get immersed in that environment before you go.
Yeah, all of these are really about increasing familiarity, right, of the environment itself and of the procedures and things that are going on. And when we're more familiar with things, it's easier. It's easier for all of us. Yeah.
Definitely, especially me.
Yeah.
Number 9, find out where the bathrooms are or where any other necessary things are located. Something I do if I go somewhere with my husband, because he has no problem doing things on a whim. So if I don't know, I say, can you go and find the bathroom and then tell me where it is? Just that way I know without having to do that myself. So you have someone you can recruit, or just if you can look it up or do it in your pre-visit, that works too. Number 10, take a backpack with you with all your necessities in it. We bring a backpack everywhere we go, sometimes two, different sizes. Now, what's in our backpack? We have a change of clothes. We have plastic bags. We have wipes, like a pack of wipes. We have a towel, usually a thin beach towel so that you can roll it up. It's really nifty put in there. We have an umbrella, a really compressed one. We have a variety of snacks, crunchy, sweet, sour, all kinds. We have water bottles, fidgets. We have paper on a clipboard and pens and pencils, a notebook. We have a bag of rocks. My child likes to throw things in the water. And if we don't have the rocks, then his sunglasses might go in the water. Um, Noise canceling headphones are nifty. Extra mittens, hats, and socks, depending on the weather and where you're going. Earplugs, shoes, comfort toy, their tablet or iPad, fidgets of all kinds. Um, if there's anything else, I would like to hear what's in your backpack or what you would add to my backpack. That would be great.
I was
Um,
thinking about like the paper on a clipboard with pencils and pens and a notebook. How wonderful to think of that. Because you can use that as a parent and pull it out and quickly draw something visually if there's a change of plan, because it helps support the understanding, especially if there is a little bit of anxiety building up, right? And they can't quite focus in on your words, but perhaps a visual might support. But on the other hand, that actually might also be used by your child to tell you something, right?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we regularly use our notebooks and pens and pencils and paper whenever we're really going anywhere. It keeps the focus on the piece of paper, and then yeah, if you have to communicate something and there's a lot going on, the focus is on what you're doing on the paper. Um, if for some reason my oldest can't discern the different noises going on in the environment, he can read or watch my drawing, my pen, and then that helps because then he can add to my picture or he can draw too. So it's definitely very helpful and really simple. Everybody can have that with them.
Mm, it's good.
Yeah. And number 11 is to do a pre-visit if possible, where you actually go and do a walk through the entire location and you can ask questions, meet the staff, and get a feel for whether it will be a good fit. Um, you can choose to do this with or without the child or person you're supporting. It really depends on that child or person. My children would be different. So my oldest, I would not take with me during this pre-visit. My youngest, I might. So it would just depend on your situation. Number 12, slow down. So, and by this, I don't mean slow down your talking um, to like a really slow um, speech. It's the action, the doing, the process. You slow down that process. You want to really take your time with the whole thing. Let go of any expectations about how it should look. I can talk about a story here. When my oldest was small, and he still is, but when he was small, um, he was really interested in vehicles and airplanes. And we thought, oh my goodness, he would just love to go to the airport and watch these airplanes flying and landing and taking off. So we took him to just our Waterloo Region Airport to check it out. And we were trying to get him to look through the window and like, oh, look, look, look. And you couldn't get him away from the water fountain. So like the drinking fountain that you drink water from and you fill your water bottles in. He was most interested in that. And we spent a lot of time trying to get him away from the water fountain so that he could see these planes we brought him to see. And in hindsight, we should have just embraced that water fountain. It would have been a whole lot more fun for all of us if we just let him explore the water fountain. So that's just a good learning lesson of, let go of your expectations of how it should look, and just embrace what's happening. Slow it down, enjoy the process.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Just slow the whole process down and be in the moment, not in what you think it should be. Yeah.
Right. Yes. All right. And then number 13 is to give them a role whenever it's appropriate, something they can focus on and feel competent in doing. So we use the checkout a lot. And so my children can put things on the belt and into the bags. They can push the cart before we get there. Um, and both my children really enjoy this entire process. So it keeps their focus on what we're doing, and makes them feel like they're part of that process too.
Wonderful. That is a really important thing. Give roles because everybody wants to be part of something, right? And it also decreases anxiety level again because you know what to do. So that's
Right.
great. Thank you, Alicia. Those 13 things are really great to remember. And now it's time for you to reflect a little bit on some questions. How do you prepare your child or your student or client for success in a new environment? Is there anything that you would add to this list? And is there anything that you would do differently the next time? So, coming up, Module 5 is all about finding accessible spaces. We look forward to seeing you there.